Welcome back, everyone. I am Elizabeth with Gear Up Iowa, and I want to welcome you to another segment of Gear Up Coffee Talk. Today we have Heather Evans um, from EICC. Heather and I know each other as I was once at EICC. Very cool people. But Heather, how are you?
Fantastic. I got my coffee today for the coffee talk. I was very excited about it. So I'm really happy to be here and happy to talk about Gear Up always.
Yeah, and one of the cool things about Heather is that she has seen two rounds of Gear Up students go through, and typically that's not the norm with a grant. So Heather, tell me a little bit about that as far as what you've seen that's been different between both the first round of Gear Up students compared to the second round.
Sure. So, as Elizabeth mentioned, I've been with Eastern Iowa Community Colleges, specifically out of our Clinton campus since 2010. And so I had the great privilege of participating in the Gear Up 1.0, then through the Gear Up 2.0, and now we're super stoked for Gear Up 3.0. I would say probably the people that I've had the opportunity to work with, there have been a few that have kind of stayed the same. But then, as Elizabeth mentioned, there have been some changes in staff, and ultimately everybody that's been involved has been super dedicated to Gear Up. And with the students that have gone through, I would say probably some of the biggest changes have just been we learned in 1.0 some of the things that we needed to give more attention and focus on. So in working with the school districts, the kind of things that maybe need to be looked at earlier in the process for students, when we started to pay attention to when to get the word out about the FAFSA, knowing that families needed to learn about that even sooner than we had originally been talking with them, especially because FAFSA submission date changed from January to October, just kind of process type of things. That has been a big change, and just making sure that students become aware of all of the different resources. So both cohorts have been super awesome to work with, but through everything you live and learn in terms of making sure that you're giving students all the resources that they need and making sure that they're aware of where those are and how to access them. So super fun always.
Yeah, and you mentioned being working with Gear Up, and Nate also has been there through the 1.0, and we'll get to chat with him a little bit later. But you also got the chance to go to YLS. For those of you who don't know, it's the Youth Leadership Summit, and how that works is every year, except for last year due to COVID. Um, Schools nominate a female and a male candidate for this leadership institute, and so then they go through a process of interviews, things like that, and then we ultimately take four of those students. So what was that like, being able to get to go to YLS, and I believe it was in California, right? San Francisco.
San Francisco. Yeah. So um, just honestly speaking, it was probably one of the highlights of my entire professional career. So having the opportunity, well, first of all, the conference was titled The Way of the Equity Warrior. Like, who doesn't want to be involved in something that is titled that, right? And so the opportunity to, first of all, be given this great chance to take a student from the Clinton Community School District, so a Clinton High School student. First of all, the opportunity that Clinton High School gave me to be able to take the student, and then also that Gear Up supported that, was just a really great privilege. I felt super honored to be able to do that. And that conference being able to see Jack, the student that that went with me, and then the other students that were chosen to go from throughout the state of Iowa, to be able to see them explore a new location through the eyes of like a student viewpoint, especially some students who hadn't traveled outside of their like small radius of a town, you know, that they come from, was like an absolute pleasure of my life. Because being someone who adores traveling and getting to see new people, new experiences, just the diversity that exists in the world, I think it gives such an opportunity to come back to you know, our everyday life and share those experiences and just learn so much from each other. And to have the conversations with Jack about the Youth Leadership Summit, and just even how much he felt like he grew in a few days' time, was just, it was just such a remarkable experience. And it was just like a sense of empowerment and hopefulness. And I just, to be surrounded by so many different professionals, entrepreneurs, musicians, like people from all over the place that were come together for this Youth Leadership Summit and for the conference, and all had this like idea of wanting there to be this reformed like equity for everyone. I don't know, it was just an absolute pleasure. And I'm so grateful that I got to have the experience, that I got to do it with all of you. And I just think it's definitely something I'll remember my whole life. And I know that those students will too. So it was absolutely wonderful. And I hope to have the experience again in the future.
That is the hope, that, you know, as things start opening up, that they say, hey, let's have another Youth Leadership Summit. And that's always the goal, is to, you know, send 4 students or 3 or however many we're allowed to take for that year. But yeah, it's always a humbling experience to see those students. And you know, you talked about just growing in just those 4 days for those students. Tell me, what is it that you have learned, or your, if you had to say, you know, I grew from, you know, from Gear Up 1.0 to 2.0, what does that change look like?
I would put a lot of attention on the relationships. I think that, you know, we've done a lot of attention with like non-cognitive material, and working with, you know, student, gosh, especially now in the way of the world with mental health, and just attention to things. You know, obviously the academics are so valuable and so important. And, you know, we're talking about school and college and career access and all these different things. But I also think that we need to have, you know, this level of self-awareness and mindfulness and confidence and all of those things that really help build us as well-rounded people. And I feel like, just both by the way that the world has been changing, as well as, you know, the way that the attention of things that we're, you know, providing, I think has really made a difference to me. I've always been like, I'm not blue, I'm the relationship person. I feel like, you know, a lot of when I speak about things, it has a lot to do with the emotion of it. And I just think that just moving from the 1.0 to the 2.0, I feel like over time, we're given more validity maybe to like the way that we feel about things. And I think that Gear Up, and a lot of the programming that we do and the attention that the coaches give and that the school districts are giving, I think that that lends a lot to that growth. And so I would say really just the continued growth in relationship building, and what that really means for things like the collaboratives that we try to create, and use those type of things as we're putting together programming and making sure that students have all of those resources, you know, that they need.
tell me what is your favorite part about Gear Up, because every time we get together and talk about Gear Up, like you light up like a light bulb, and it's so cool to see, you know, other people that are so passionate about this work, and working together to be able to move these students forward, is amazing. So yeah, I just want to know your thoughts on, you know, you tell me all the time I love Gear Up, so what's your favorite part of Gear Up besides me
Yeah,
and
of
the rest
course.
of the team?
I love the accessibility that it gives to all. I mean, I think that making sure that students are given all of the resources and working with a cohort of students gives us the opportunity to really focus on, you know, a cohort of students to be able to make sure that they're having all of the different opportunities that they should be afforded, and regardless of their life situation. And I just love that Gear Up gives those students that. I love that there's a scholarship opportunity that can be attached to that. And I love that there are so many passionate people that are committed to it. I think that was one of the reasons why that conference was like so empowering, was because you sat in a ballroom full of people committed to this same idea. And you can see it in myself. Like you said, like the passion about it, it makes me very like emotional and excited. But I just love being able to pull together a team, you know, of people who come from different backgrounds and have different ideas, and be able to come together to make sure that we're giving students the access that they deserve to all the different information to help them kind of move forward with whatever their goal may be, and to help them create those goals, you know, and know that they can achieve them. So it's really important. It's so valuable, and I'm so grateful for it.
With that, that is a mic drop. Done. Heather, thank you very much for joining us today. I appreciate it, and again, we're fighting the good fight here. And thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Bye.